Jennifer Lilly is the editor for Master of None, which has recently released its third season, Moments in Love, which is directed by Aziz Ansari. I'm Matt Noble from Gold Derby, and I wanted to ask you, Jen, how easy did Aziz decide to make it on you by having so many wide shots this year?
Well, it's so interesting. When he pitched the idea, I'm always excited. He's such a vibrant storyteller, has so much enthusiasm about his work. So I was ready to dig in. The scripts were amazing. And the concept of approaching the material with this really formal treatment was really compelling. So it was interesting. It was not as easy as I thought it would be. It was, it's actually, it does sharpen the tool, we decided to really limit our toolbox. Okay. We're not going to have a lot of score. We're not going to pre-lap audio. We're going to mostly work in masters. So it does really sharpen your sensitivity to performance, to the tools that you do have. It was really fun. And it was really fun just to sharpen those muscles, Every project has kind of different challenges in that way. Do you have really fast-paced montage? Do you have, a build of, certain drama, and this was different muscles I'd used before. It was fun.
And this season definitely allows scenes to breathe, and also has, as I said, the wide shots where you cover a lot of where you see a lot of everything at the same time. And this is true of a lot of projects, I'm sure, but it's not wanting the editing to be flashy or front and center or even noticed probably much by the audience. Where did the sort of challenge for you lie in that?
It's true. The challenge was really finding a way. What we had was really the pacing. And when you're working with really nuanced, subtle kind of edit sequence like that, it's really about, when you make one slight little adjustment, you really have to go back to the beginning and watch the whole thing to understand the impact that it's made. So I think that, that subtlety and that nuance was challenging.
What was the trickiest scene for you to cut?
Well, I think that in episode 4 it wasn't really the scene, but it was the sequence. How much do we need to, how many scenes, and obviously how long do we stay on each shot to convey what Alicia was going through. We didn't want it to be repetitive, even though her medical treatment, her IVF treatment, it actually is very repetitive. And that's part of which makes it so taxing. What we tried to convey is the emotional kind of impact of going through something like that. So it was really, what order, how long, how much, do we go back to it? Really trying to find the kind of language of the edit for that episode. Took a lot of experimentation.
Did you have a favorite moment of the season?
Favorite moment? I actually love the last episode where it's, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's reflective, and to see the arc of these characters and their relationship kind of tracked through time, and to see the end kind of connection that they have. I thought was just, from a performance standpoint, was just really incredible, of how through each episode, whether the relationship was incredibly connected or incredibly isolated from each other, you really could track it if you watch it as one piece. The performances are remarkable, and you can't really make a show like this with this style without incredible performances. You can't stay in a wide shot unless the actors can deliver that, and it's, like you said, I kind of always have the intention to kind of stay out of the way a little bit when I'm editing. Like you mentioned, it's like, it's kind of invisible, especially in this show, but that's definitely my style. And when I approach a piece of like making it seamless, making it feel as natural and as possible for the audience. And whether that's comedy from the first couple of seasons, it's great. I thought Alan and Aziz are so brilliant at making material, and Lena, of course, that really, and with the performances, that you can play the comedy, the situational comedy, and wider coverage, and not have to rely on editing with coverage to kind of make a comedic moment. So.
I guess like with that sort of idea of sort of like the invisible editing, and I think most there are some projects where they need flashy editing and it's really effective, but like can you as an editor, when you watch other things with sort of invisible editing, notice good editing and stuff, or do you really need to be in the edit room to notice?
I am really tuned into it about what kind of choices are being made, and certainly what devices and techniques, and so I'm not the average audience, certainly. So I'm really looking for that, or I'm just tuned into it.
Yeah. But, yeah. Like, in some ways, like, what's tougher for you? Like choices of where to make a cut or where to not make a cut in a scene?
I mean, I usually start, I'm always focusing on story. What's the most important thing in the scene, and how can I, achieve the intent and the goal of the story, and of the director, and of the vision of the thing. So, I kind of have a process of parsing down. I start fat and continue to parse. And I really believe in, experimentation, and, really just trying everything. And, when we first got the material, and we talked to Aziz a lot about this, is like, it was hard to imagine. We weren't sure it was going to work, and so we got the footage, and it's like, let's do the brave edit. Let's try, let's be in that laundromat for, 10 minutes. Like, what happens? How does that feel? And then really just listening to the footage, listening to the edit, what does it need, and just trying it. And you really, making discoveries that you wouldn't necessarily approach the material knowing, is always a really exciting part of what we do in the cutting room.
Yeah. What was a discovery that you had on this season?
On the season?
Yeah, something you discovered.
I mean, it really was about working in this very lyrical pace of how, when you really calibrate to that, how impactful it can be. I mean, and certainly this very contemporary characters, contemporary story with this very formal filmmaking style was, I saw it in the script, and then when I saw it on the footage, it was kind of breathtaking to me. It was like, oh, this is exciting, so, but really, a lot of times when you pace a movie, you have a few moments where like, let's let it hang. Let's make this a beat, that's not what this was. This was a whole different style of like, let's stay with this character in sometimes very uncomfortable situations. Let's really ask the audience to stay here with us and feel what this feels like, and then have an interstitial, which was, a nature shot that was kind of like a punctuation mark. And then the next thing, like, it had its own language. It's really different than the way a lot of times we make things, but it was really exciting to make it work. And, another thing about the team is, every department kind of delivered to make it what it is. So, I mean, the production design, Amy's production design, and certainly the performances, the directing, everything was, it's very inspired, an inspiring leadership on this team. And I think every department head would say that you just want to step up and do your best work. And I think that that's also something that is kind of special about the Master of None kind of families. It's really, honestly, it doesn't even feel like work sometimes. It's such a pleasure.
Oh, it's great. And the interesting thing, like the benefit you had for what you were trying to do this season on the show is being on a streaming service like Netflix. Each episode could be a different length in time. Mm-hmm. You weren't like going, okay, we need to hit the 22 minutes. We need to hit the 4 minutes or whatever the different times that you might constraints you have. Even on like that, I just use sort of network times, but there's also on cable, we've got the hour to fill.
Yeah. No, it's actually, it's so nice to let in this streaming revolution, to let things be what they want to be. Certainly with Netflix, it's like, no, this episode really wants to be 23 minutes, and we are allowed to do that. It's great because when you do work with the constraints of time, I mean, it's an odd experience to just go through and be like, we got to shave 3 minutes out, and you're like, heads and tails are gonna go, and you just start shaving, and sometimes that it's a real benefit. And of course, I always take a pass of is there anything, do we need, is there anything we can shave? Is there anything we can make tighter? But yeah, it is really nice to let things be the length they want to be.
And the last season of Master of None, season 2, you won the Emmy Award for editing the Thief episode. Do you want to just talk us through what that night was like and what that meant to you winning that award? Because we're an awards website at Gold Derby.
I mean, I was really honored, and it was kind of unbelievable. And it really was. Like I said, I really credit the whole team with everything I was given and to make the show. I kind of share it with the whole team, but it was fun. It was fun.
What that Thief episode from season 2? And this might be a hard question for you to answer, but what do you think it was about the edit of that episode that appealed to Emmy voters or resonated with the industry?
Well, I think similar to season 3, it's something you just don't see on television, that much. It was black and white. It was really it was in Italian. It had a lot of elements to it that, Alan and Aziz are always trying to push it. Let's push it. Let's make a whole episode, silent, let's try this, let's try that. And I think that, again, kind of an homage to European art cinema was appealing, to see this contemporary story told through a different perspective. And of course, I think the photography was amazing, performances were great, just every department, really the music was amazing, Zach Carey was amazing. So, yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, you talked about a big philosophy of this show is trying things that are different, giving things a go, experimenting with different ways of storytelling or reinventing old ways of storytelling, all that sort of thing. What's something that you what was a big risk you took as an editor in season 3 of Master of None?
Well, it's interesting. Our job has a lot of it's kind of multi-layered and a lot of technical responsibilities and, supervising the department responsibilities. And then of course the creative and really listening to the footage and being able to put forth and offer ideas and suggestions and alternative ways of looking at it. And that's always, I love my job. So it's always really exciting work for me, but it's, certainly when you're trying to hammer away at something or trying to solve a problem, it's we all kind of have our ways of trying to reach our tap into what we can offer, and sometimes it can be challenging,
Yeah.
But But Aziz and Alan are incredible collaborators, and there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of talking about what we're doing, how it's feeling, what the feedback is. So there's a lot of vision.
Yeah. What was a problem you had to solve this season?
A problem we had to solve. It was like a lot of little things. There was nothing really major. Once we realized that the style of the vocabulary we were using was what we felt was working. That was probably the most nerve-wracking part of just like, okay, let's do this. But it was a lot of little decisions. Similarly to other seasons, it's remarkable to me, honestly, that the intent at the script level and then the execution and what we end up with as a final on the screen is very similar. It's really something special about what I think special about Alan and Aziz. They just have vision for it, and then it is what they hoped it would be. So what we all hope it would be. Yeah. So I haven't honestly had the experience. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of little things that like, what do we do here? And we think about it for weeks and weeks of, let's try it here. Let's try it here. Let's chop it down. Let's extend it. Let's do that. We played a lot. But overall, it's close to the intent.
That's so good to hear. Well, Jennifer.
It's unusual.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today. All the best of luck with the Emmy Awards for this year. Maybe you can go, it wasn't last year's Emmys that you won, but you're sort of a returning champion. So hopefully you can you can do well there. And people watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your own award predictions. Thanks, Jennifer.
Right. Thank you. Take care.